Hey everyone, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I speak to the founder of Tangle, Saul. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. And today we're going to talk about building a mission-driven media company from scratch. That's a big undertaking.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of changes with media in the last, couple, maybe even decade with the whole misinformation thing and the elections, and a lot of stuff has happened in media, especially with AI as well. So let's start off with, where you see the big challenges that you faced when you started Tangle. Like, what were they in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, number one is trust. The biggest thing that the media is struggling with right now is trust from its viewers and listeners and readers. And so I wanted to build an organization that I thought could build trust and build trust across the political spectrum was a really big part of what we were doing, not just Democrats, but Republicans. So that was the biggest challenge. And then the second part is just reach. When I started Tangle, going out on your own, people with their own big followings do it successfully, but people like me who at the time did not have particularly big followings, it's much harder to build a media brand by yourself and build your following along the way. And then that was a big challenge for me in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Trust, obviously, because a lot of times people share news or links to articles and they say, look at this. And I'm like, that's not true. It's a conspiracy theory. And I'll say, what was the source? And it's like, joebob.com or whatever, and I'm like, you're taking your news from some guy in a basement writing these articles. So how did you break through that whole, well, what's the source? How do I believe this source? And then how did you make that different from all the other news outlets out there?
Yeah, two things. First of all, I flex my own personal credentials. I'm a nonfiction writing journalism major. I've worked at different newspapers, different magazines from across the political spectrum, different websites.
That helps.
And so I'm able to say, look, I'm a professional. I came from the space. I know how the journalism industry works, and I've worked
You take
there.
it seriously, and it actually means something to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trained and I have the experience to understand, what's working, what's not. And then the second part is just sharing a wide range of political views and perspectives in every
So
edition.
it's not biased.
Yeah, that's our real special sauce, is that we share views from the left and the right and the middle in every edition. And we explicitly say when we're doing that. And so people feel like they're getting a well-rounded view on the news, which they are.
So, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who have an idea for something, whether it's a media company or a startup or a product even, and it's daunting, right? It's to start a company from scratch and then take it to the next level and then take it to, in your case, up to $1 million or more. What were the steps? What was the journey from zero to CEO?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was in a fortunate situation where I had a job. And so for me, it was late nights and early mornings working on this product outside of my full-time job. And that gave me some runway, allowed me to take some more risks because I didn't need money immediately. I was able to build a loyal audience and produce a really good product without cutting corners to make money.
So you suggest that to people listening or watching, that they should stick with the job and then do this on the side?
Look, if you want to be an entrepreneur or start your own company, you're going to have to work early mornings and late nights anyway. And if you have a gig that you can keep and maybe slack off at a little bit while you're focusing on building your own thing, I think it's a great strategy. And it worked really well for me because it allowed me, some breathing room where I didn't have to rush and I wasn't financially strained through the process.
But you didn't slack off. We're not saying you slacked off.
Yeah. Don't lose your real day job because most companies fail, but definitely you'll realize how inefficient your workday is when you're trying to fit in a second full-time job and you realize how much extra work you can really do.
All right. So you had the job, you're plugging away nights and weekends, mornings. And then what was the next level? What was the moment when you realized you actually had a business that could work?
Yeah, so I gave our content away for free in the beginning, and I surveyed readers when I was about 8 or 9 months into it and said, hey, I'm thinking about turning on subscriptions for this product. Would you pay for this? And if so, how much? And then I took that information and I shot just a little bit north of what people said they would pay for. And then I flipped subscriptions on and I saw, 15, 20% of our readership, our free readership, convert to paid subscriptions. And the moment that happened, I knew that I could scale this product because if, 500 out of 3,000 people were willing to pay,
Yeah.
then now all I needed to do was get 10 or 15,000 people on the mailing list in order to have a real business that I could pay myself with.
So let's go back to the future for a second. You said that you asked your readership what they would be willing to pay. This is like the oldest trick in the book that everybody should remember is you get data-driven decisions, right? You ask your users, you ask the market, what is your answer to this question? And you use that data to then drive your decisions. Is that what you've been doing ever since and before and after?
Yeah, it's really important for me to keep the feedback loop open with our readers and listeners. It's the best way to understand, how your work is hitting, what about it is working, what isn't working, what people want. And, I'm not trying to be captured by the audience and just give them whatever they want. That's another weakness of the media. But from a product standpoint and a business standpoint, when I get a bunch of readers writing in and saying, "Hey, I wish I could listen to your newsletter," I said, "Oh, all right, we should start a podcast." So then we started a podcast, and a lot of people came over and started listening to the podcast. And now that's a separate product for us that makes its own money, and you just have to be really smart and open-minded about listening to those signals and acting on them.
So it sounds like you had like a mission in mind when you started this whole thing, right? It was like a way to do truly unbiased and trustworthy news. How can you, and goes to any business, how can you balance mission driven, ideas with the growth that you need to sustain a business?
Yeah. So, well, the easiest answer to that question is make your mission something that you can scale and something that a lot of people want. I mean, for me, I wanted one place where I could learn about a specific issue and get a really wide breadth of perspectives from the far left to the far right and everybody in between, all in one place. I didn't see that existing in the marketplace. So I had the classic entrepreneurial story of like, it's not there, build it, and you can't be the only person who wants this thing.
Lately, with winter setting in, I've been feeling a bit tired and procrastinating a bit more. But that's when I found this Magic Mind, the world's first mental performance shot. And I gotta tell you, it's been a game changer for me. Whether you're a creator like me, a gamer, a writer, or an artist, Magic Mind is designed to fuel your creativity and keep you in the zone. It's not just for creatives. It's great for professionals, students, or anyone balancing a busy schedule. I've personally noticed increased focus, sustained energy without the jitters, and even better sleep since I started using Magic Mind. It's not just an energy boost. It's about clarity and balance. Magic Mind is also incredibly versatile. Take it straight, add it to a smoothie, or mix it into your morning latte for an extra kick. It's easy to carry. So whether I'm at the office, the gym, or on a plane, it's there when I need it. And the best part is Magic Mind donates money from every bottle sold to mental health charities supporting those in need. So not only are you investing in your productivity, but you're also helping others. Oh, and you can use my code, JasonSherman20. That's JASONSHERMAN20 for 20% off your order. So stay sharp, stay creative, and let's keep crushing those goals. Now, let's get back to our guest.
From a mission perspective, I would say like the way to tie it to growth is make your audience or make your customers part of the mission. I mean, my readers and listeners, they feel really tied to what we're doing because they see us bridging the gap a little bit. They see us rebuilding trust in the media. They see us bringing conservatives and liberals under one roof. And that builds brand loyalty and makes them want to support us, want to give us money, want to participate in community-oriented events. And that just kind of all snowballs on itself. So don't just preach the mission to the audience or your customers. Let them participate in it and be a part of it. And I think that's a good way to kind of pull growth levers too.
Getting to 125,000 subscribers also, I mean, the fact that you were able to scale to that number, it might not seem like a lot compared to like, Fox News or, CNN or BBC, who's got like, gajillions of users, but 125,000 subscribers paying is quite a bit of scalability there. Now, how did you get the audience to be so high?
So a couple of things, actually. First of all, our mailing list has grown in the last 2 weeks. It has almost doubled around the election, which is crazy. So
you're at 250,000 now?
Yeah. And our paid subscribers are actually more like 40,000, a little more than 40,000 people who are paying.
That's fine.
And it's a slow burn. I mean, look, I've been doing this for 5 years. So, you beat the drum and you have to be consistent and you
And
have to
5 years is
consistently.
usually when a startup fails, right? That's like the number that they give into schools is like after 5 years, a business fails. So you passed that threshold, right?
Yeah, we passed that threshold and we are really, really healthy from a business perspective. We have great margins, good profit. We're building the team slowly and scaling out the team slowly, and all of that is really helpful. So, yeah, I am very gung ho about this space. I would just say like it takes consistency and it takes consistently doing something that is, a reliable and thoughtful product, at least in my world.
But everybody wants to know how you get to that number. Like, because anybody can make a blog or a news site and then maybe get 10 people to read, 100 people to read. But to get 250,000 people to read is no small feat considering how it's an overcrowded market. There's a gazillion news sites. So, how did you break through that saturation?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, don't do the thing that everybody else is doing. Like there are a million newsletters, for instance. What I saw was there were a million newsletters out there that are really short reads, that are quick, punchy headlines and explaining the news in, less than 3 minutes. We don't do that. We're almost a long form newsletter and podcast. It'll take you 10 or 15 minutes to read our whole newsletter. We go deep on specific topics. And we do another thing that a lot of news organizations don't do, which is we explicitly seek out perspectives from the right and the left and the middle. And that means that you're not just getting sort of our view on any given issue, you're getting a wide range of perspectives from other pundits. And I think that has really been what has helped us break through is a little bit of that differentiation from other people in the space. And then, I share my own personal story all the time in the newsletter. And I think that personality part of it helps a lot too.
It's a really good point. I mean, I keep hearing, friends, family, whoever talking about left, right, and how could they think this way and how can they think this way? And it seems like what you're doing is providing that outlet of here's why they think that way. Right? Is that kind of what you're doing? Is you're providing an outlet for everyone to kind of give their information and their mindset?
Yeah, so I would say two things. One, we try to make it so that most Americans will see a little bit of themselves in every newsletter. If you read our newsletter
Interesting.
top to bottom and you don't see a perspective that represents your worldview, then we're probably not doing our job. And the second thing is just Americans don't really understand each other. Their people don't really know what the other side thinks. They think they do, but they really tend to caricature the other side and they think the worst of the people who don't share their politics. And so we show them a lot of level-headed and thoughtful and nuanced takes and ideas from people who differ from them. And I think that gives them a little bit more trust and faith in their fellow American citizens.
Yeah, you just said Americans don't really know each other. I think we found that out last week for sure.
Yeah.
We thought we knew everybody, but we really didn't. And speaking about surprising things, what was the most surprising thing that you found happened to you during your journey building Tangle? Like, what was the thing that just kind of came out of left field and you were like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing has just been the response from people who say that our newsletter and our product has actually impacted their personal lives. What the reason that
That's all, I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean,
yeah, and the reason that we actually grew so much in the last week or two was because This American Life, the NPR podcast, did a story about our work, and it was focused on a married couple who said that they were about to get divorced because the man was a Trump voter and the woman was a Democrat. And they used Tangle to sort of bridge their own political
wow.
divide. And they say it basically saved their marriage. And the story is really powerful to hear them talk about it and how they didn't have any news sources to go to. And then this thing happened that helped them out. And stories like that really shocked
That's
me.
fantastic.
I mean, yeah, it really surprised me that it sort of seeped into people's personal lives in that way. And it's been a really rewarding experience.
I mean, that's pure validation, in my opinion. That's just like validates your whole concept, mission, everything, right? It's like it helped a family stay together. I mean,
yeah,
that should
exactly.
be a frontline headline.
Yeah.
Speaking of, what are your future plans for Tangle? What are you gonna go? What are you gonna do from here?
Yeah. So right now, the newsletter and the podcast are our core product, and that's where we make most of our revenue and most of our readership lives. Obviously, the next generation of American voters get their news on different platforms in a lot of cases, YouTube, TikTok. And so we have some plans in 2025 to sort of expand the offerings that are more like video or short form stuff that we think where we think we can stick to the Tangle ethos and still provide some thoughtful, nuanced commentary, but break through a bit in those spaces where we see a lot of younger Americans getting their news. So that's going to be the big thing for me, is just trying to meet some people where they are. And as we like continue to staff up and build and have more revenue, we can invest in some products outside of those core offerings.
What kind of products are you thinking of?
I mean, we have a YouTube channel right now, which we are going to give a lot more love and attention to, and I think produce videos on more regularly. So that's
like maybe like a web series of some kind, like a
web
talk
series
show,
and more explainer stuff that we think we can offer in a more neutral and less sort of left or right tilted view, which a lot of the explainer stuff that you find on YouTube has right now. Some interviews with people who I think break political stereotypes, whether it's conservative or liberal or centrist, whatever it is, people who just have unique perspectives that I think don't get highlighted enough in the mainstream media. That's a big one for me.
Yeah, you gotta get Jon Stewart on the show.
yeah, exactly. He'd be great. And I've done stuff with guys like Bill O'Reilly, who,
nice.
Jon Stewart's longtime nemesis, and is actually a lot more thoughtful and curious person than you might imagine from watching his show.
Nice. And where can people find out more about what you do, or if they want to subscribe to your newsletter?
Yeah, readtangle.com is our website. That's the best place to go. And I encourage people to sign up for the newsletter. It's free. You can give it a shot. And once you're in the system, we'll hit you with links to everything else, and you'll be able to go explore the rest of the Tangle offering.
Sweet. Thanks, Isaac. You guys check out readtangle.com if you want some really good unbiased news, and hope you learned something. See you in the next episode.